To say I bought a lot of books would be an understatement. After scouring the internet and price-checking multiple sources, I ultimately concluded that Awesome Books, my go-to place, was still the best option for saving money. And after getting an Indigo card from my aunt, I also bought a few books from there. Now, I am cheating slightly, as I also saved my tip money on purpose in order to treat myself. And so I combined my tip earnings with my Christmas money for a grand total of around $400+, not counting gift cards. I also bought a haul back in November, in reaction to a Black Friday sale, with the discount essentially covering the shipping, and I'll be including those here as well, as I consider them a Christmas gift to myself. Finally, I'm a Christmas baby, so some of this money is also technically birthday money. Therefore, you can consider this a birthday haul as well. I'll break down the books by genre and type, as while I primarily focused on fantasy, I also bought a few classic literature books, and I'll go over the books I received as literal books before moving on to the ones I purchased myself. I'm not at home at the time of this recording, which means I don't have most of the books with me, and several are still arriving in the mail, but please take my word for it. If you're looking to save money, I'll also share with any aspiring readers out there where I got my books, in case you also have some Christmas dollars to stretch. Before we dive in, I'm Riley and this is Otherworldly Fiction. On this channel, I rant about books, discuss characters and lore, and share the occasional writing advice. If any of that is your cup of eggnog, hit the subscribe button. To begin, I'll list the books I received in person. My parents spoiled me this year when it came to the books they got me. First, I received the entire War of Lost Hearts trilogy by Carissa Broadbent. I've had my eye on this series for a while. It's always given me Sarah J. Maas vibes, to look at the cover art, and I have to say that I love the covers. I'm a fan of that digital painting style, and these books are often lauded on BookTok, being compared to Sarah J. Maas by other readers. From my parents, I also received The Lost Metal, which is the 7th book in Brandon Sanderson's Mistborn saga, and the only Mistborn novel I haven't yet read. I really enjoyed diving into Sanderson last year, and you can check out my top 10 books of 2023 video if you want more details on that. Finally, I received Stephanie Garber's A Curse for True Love, the third in her Once Upon a Broken Heart series, a spin-off which takes place in the same world as the very popular Caraval trilogy. I already have the first 2 books, but wanted to wait until I had the third, as I generally prefer to have the whole series with me before I start reading a book. I'm especially excited about this one, as I've been waiting since the summer, when I first fell in love with the Caraval books, to dive into these. Last but not least, from my brother I was given Carissa Broadbent's Nyaxia books, which are talked about just as much as her trilogy. With them, I now have the complete Carissa Broadbent collection, and I'm so excited to begin exploring her work. She writes about everything I love, including vampires and female underdogs, and her comparisons to Sarah J. Maas have made me that much more eager to see how the books stack up. Moving on to the books I purchased for myself, I first want to talk about the classic literature I bought. In this set, you have your standard Victorian literature, but I'm also choosing to include those books which were written in the 1900s, like those by Virginia Woolf and Shirley Jackson. The oldest books on this list are by Anne Radcliffe, who, if you don't know, is considered the pioneer of Gothic fiction. Every excerpt I've heard from her writing thus far has sounded beautiful to me, and I've been wanting to read her for some time. On Amazon, I found a complete set of her work for around $30, though they're temporarily out of stock, so I'm not sure when they'll arrive. There are, I think, 6 books in total she's written, including her best-known novel, The Count of Udolpho. With that order, I also bought George Eliot's Middlemarch and Charlotte Bronte's The Professor. I had a Bronte binge in December, but I didn't have The Professor, so this is the only Bronte book I haven't read. Being a big lover of both the Brontes and Jane Austen, I'm also eager to start exploring the work of George Eliot, as they often prefer female writers, and she's known to be one of the best. From Chapters, for only $15, I purchased a box set of Virginia Woolf. I read Mrs. Dalloway when I was a teenager, but I feel I'd have a better appreciation of her work now. Classic literature was harder for me to read then, but I've enjoyed it enough now that older writing styles feel fairly natural to me. Virginia Woolf has a very distinct writing style, but her work is very character-driven, and as someone who does prefer work that is character-driven, I feel now is the time. Within the set, classics like The Lighthouse and Orlando are included as well. Moving on to newer, older books, I bought 2 Shirley Jackson books, The Bird's Nest and a collection of short stories which includes her most famous, The Lottery. From Angela Carter, I bought 4 books, The Magic Toy Shop, Wise Children, Burning Your Boats, and Nights at the Circus. I first read Angela Carter back in October, with her best-known work, The Bloody Chamber, where I fell in love with her writing style. I'm coming to realize that I have an appreciation for the Gothic, and Carter reminded me of Anne Rice, both in her writing style and the content she covers. From Daphne du Maurier, author of Rebecca, I purchased Jamaica Inn, My Cousin Rachel, and her short story collection, which includes The Birds. At the end of this section, we have Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. I bought the first book along with the sequel, and I'm especially eager to read them, as I'm overdue to do so. They're not technically classic literature, but it's not long before they will be. At any rate, they've been cemented as classics, and with everything going on in the world, now couldn't be a better time. Next, we come to the fantasy section. I went for a variety, buying everything from epic fantasy to YA, but we'll start with my earliest purchases. In my November haul, I bought Madeline Miller's 2 bestsellers, Circe and The Song of Achilles. I also purchased Toni Morrison's Beloved, which I hesitate to call a fantasy since it's very much rooted in real-life trauma and is more drama-based, but the book is classified as magical realism, so it makes the cut. In my December haul, I bought 2 trilogies. The Scholomance trilogy, better known by the first book's title, A Deadly Education, written by Naomi Novik, and N.K. Jemisin's Broken Earth trilogy. I've heard great things about both authors. Both Novik and Jemisin are talked about repeatedly in fantasy circles. Novik's earlier work received praise from Stephen King, and Jemisin has won countless awards. If I enjoy their writing enough, I know they also have other great series they've written, so we'll see how that goes. For standalones, I finally got Tress of the Emerald Sea. Sanderson wrote several secret projects last year, but this seems to be the best of the lot, as everyone across the board really enjoyed it. This book crossed demographic lines, with both casual book talkers and hardcore epic fantasy nerds praising it. And if that wasn't enough, the story is inspired by The Princess Bride. After suffering from FOMO for so long, I'm overdue to read this book. I've enjoyed Sanderson's work so far, and fingers crossed this one is worth the hype. I also got The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reid. I fell in love with Juniper and Thorn back in October, making me eager to explore the author's writing further. After that, the final fantasy standalone or paranormal book I bought was Fledgling by Octavia E. Butler. I'm a sucker for vampires, and this one makes all the top lists. I've wanted to read this book for a long time, as the premise always intrigued me, and I'm so excited that I finally get to. For series, I bought both Ninth House and Hellbent, which are a part of Leigh Bardugo's ongoing Alex Stern books. I got lucky with Ninth House because I actually found it on Poshmark of all places. I thought Poshmark was mostly for clothes, and it is, but there are some books on there as well, and Poshmark offered to deliver the first order with free shipping, allowing me to snag Ninth House for only $10. In other places, Ninth House was as much as $25, making for some serious savings. Hellbent I bought from my usual seller, Awesome Books, making it considerably more affordable than any store in Canada. From Chapters, I bought The Stolen Heir, which is the first book in Holly Black's latest Elfhame duology. Another book I kept seeing was Rachel Gillig's One Dark Window. It's appeared repeatedly on BookTok, and I'd been hesitating to take the plunge. But when I heard another bookworm actually describe them, I was intrigued by the premise. I purchased both One Dark Window and its sequel, Two Twisted Crowns. They're supposed to be somewhat moody, making them right up my alley. Last but not least, I bought two of John Gwyn's novels, Malice, the first book in his Faithful and the Fallen series, and Wrath, the fourth book in the series. I won't be able to read these right away, given I only have 2 books out of order, but when I tackle my next haul, I hope to buy the other 2 books, along with his Bloodsworn saga. In my 2024 TBR video, I list him among the writers I'd like to read this year, and both books were being offered at steep discounts, so I put the cart before the horse and grabbed them while I could. Totaling everything I purchased by book number is difficult, given the number of box sets included. But if I wanted to be technical, I'd say this haul comes to a total of 49, give or take. I'm not 100% sure how many books Anne Radcliffe wrote, which leaves me a little unsure. But overall, counting box sets and complete works, I managed to buy around 49 novels, which is a lot more than I realized. This haul has been a mixture of Christmas money, tips, and birthday cash, but I hope you've enjoyed watching me talk about these as much as I've enjoyed amassing them. With so many books to read, I feel like I'm Smaug with his hoard of treasure. I'm so excited to dive into books old and new, and I hope this is a good reading year for all of us. If you'd like to see exactly what I plan to read in the new year, check out the video on the left where I list the fantasy books I hope to read. And for the books I enjoyed in the old year, click the video on the right for my top 10. As always, thank you for watching and happy reading.